breaking down Friendship sports. This is the Tigers Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back in. This is the Tiger Fan Zone. We're going to talk baseball. We're going to follow up Coronado baseball. So while we're doing that, I'm going to run through the playoff schedule real quick. Monday, Trinity Christian beat Austin Hyde Park 6-2 and 11-4. They play Grace Prep next Monday and Tuesday if necessary in Holiday. We're just talking about Holiday being one of the new hot spots. We can come back and get that information, but we'll talk about who's playing this week because Tigers are one of them. Friendship starts tomorrow against Byron Nelson, best of 3 series at the Graham Baseball Field, 5 p.m. Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Noon Friday, 30 minutes later if necessary. Lubbock Cooper plays Clint Horizon. That's a rematch from last year. They are in a best of 3 series at Wink, which is the other new hot spot for playoffs. That is 6 p.m. Thursday, 11 a.m. Friday, and then 30 minutes later. 30 minutes later, the other team still alive is Liberty. They're the one they split it up a little bit. Liberty plays Fort Worth Eagle Mountain, which is another new school in UIL. They came actually the year after Liberty, the year before Memorial. They play best of 3 at the Hanner Sports Complex in Clyde, which is a really nice complex. I was out there for softball for the Friendship softball team last year. They play 4:30 Thursday. They come back 4 p.m. Saturday with Game 3 30 minutes later if necessary. The Monterey softball is the only other team playing this weekend. They play Aledo. That starts tomorrow. That's in Holiday also. That starts at 6:30 tomorrow, and then I believe 1 p.m. Friday with best of the third game to follow. So Friendship got there by taking care of business against El Paso Coronado. 2 different games. I'll let Chad kind of describe them. Had to grind a little bit in the first one.
Yeah, we did. The second one. It was the second one. Okay. Yeah, the first one we had a good first inning. Nick Mendoza.
That's right.
In the I guess bottom of the first, it's a grand slam.
That's a good time for a grand slam.
2 out, 2 strike grand slam, and we went from golly, man, I hope we don't let him off the hook. 2 strikes and bam, all of a sudden it's 4-0, and so man, it was just contagious. I think we hit 5 home runs that game. It was a good day, and then because of the weather, we had kind of potential weather on Friday. We decided to play 2 games that first day, and so we turned right around and played game 2, and it was kind of opposite. It was a pitcher's battle. Brody Prather went for us and battled. He didn't have his best stuff, but man, he competed real well, and we had some guys come in out of the pen. Dana McAlco came in, faced some lefties, and got some big outs. One was a double play back to him, 1-6-3 double play that got us out of a jam, and then Javi Jimenez came in and through the 7th, and
he flirted with a little trouble.
He did. That was kind of his first time to be in that moment. The Texas high school playoffs are a little big, and so but you know what, he's going to be just fine. And in fact, he was just fine and settled in. It just took him a minute, but he settled in. And I tell you what, El Paso did a good job. I was really impressed with Coronado's hitters. They put some good swings on some balls, and they're well coached. Coach Orozco's done a really good job with those guys, and but we were able to get out there with the 2-game sweep and are alive to play another week, and that's the goal this time of year. And we're excited to still be in it and be playing tomorrow.
We'll talk about who you play because that's not a rematch, but it's somebody you've seen fairly recently. Paul Maneri, the coach at LSU, his college level, pro level, closers sometimes are better when there is a little bit of noise going on around. He just said, look, closer's job is to get the 3rd out before they get a tying run. So it doesn't matter what it looks like as long as you get that job done.
Hey, that's right. And, he's a confident kid, and, that's who we want on the mound when the game's on the line right there at the end of the game. And so he knows that, and he's going to be good. He'll be just fine.
And I'm glad you mentioned Danon. Is that how you say it?
Yes. Yep.
Brad Bibb and I talked about that. You get to the playoffs, there's always going to be a pitcher or two that maybe didn't throw a ton during the regular season that you're going to need to rely on that's going to make or break. And it's a good sign that he came out and did some things.
It is. Danon, if we played a 4-game series, Danon's probably that fourth starter. And, he threw a little bit out of the bullpen. Our starters didn't, in district games,
right.
They didn't need a ton of bullpen guys. And if they did, we'd go to Javi because it was kind of in a closing situation. But he did throw a little bit, and, it was the right situation on Friday. A couple of their best hitters are left-handed, and it was a good matchup for Dana, and he came in and got us out of that deal.
Never hurts to have a left-hander when you need one.
Oh, so. Absolutely not.
We'll come back and talk about who the Tigers have next, starting tomorrow in Graham against Byron Nelson when we come back after this on the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the latest news from Friendship Athletics. This is the Tiger Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back in. This is the Tiger Fan Zone. Tonight, this will be the last segment. We're no Lubbock Cooper tonight. We're going to cut it short tonight and come back and grab the Pirates next week. Chad, Byron Nelson, played him 2 years ago. I was explaining to somebody, they're like, well, Friendship's usually pretty good. I said, yeah, they are, and they are. They're really good, and then they get to the second round, and let me make sure I've got the order right. South Lake Carroll last year, Keller the year before, Byron Nelson before that, South Lake Carroll, Keller.
That year was the third round.
Okay, that's right. You advanced.
Yep.
I'm trying to. I remember my first year you beat Arlington Martin or Arlington High.
It was Martin. Yeah,
okay,
it was Martin.
And you got to the fourth round that year, correct?
That might have been the third round.
Okay, so it's been done before. You just happen to have run into some buzzsaws the last few years. Yeah,
we have. It's funny. The first year we were in 6A, we went to the fourth round, and Keller got us. They had Shea Langoliers was catching for them. He's pretty good. Catching in the big leagues right now.
Yes, he is. I've watched him a bunch.
They had some good players, but yeah, that's that second round in 6A is tough.
I mentioned that
good deal.
Byron Nelson 3 years ago, and it was very unique. They came here on a Thursday, 1-0 game, great game. You went there Saturday?
Yes, we had a travel day in between.
Second game's 1-0.
Yeah.
So basically, it's 14 innings of okay. Now who's going to blink? And it was tight for a few innings, and then they got to you a little bit.
Yeah, that was a great environment. Both places. It was packed at our place, and then we went there, and it was packed at their place. They had a great student section, and they were on our guys, and it was a fun atmosphere. But they ended up winning 2 that day, and it was a tough one for us because we thought, I think we thought we had the better team, and sometimes that doesn't, the better team doesn't win.
No, when we were talking,
that's the way it was that year.
It's who gets hot and who's got a little bit of pitching. You guys seem to be well equipped. I've said this to you off the radio. I'll say it to you on the radio. Since I've had HubCityPreps.com, I've watched a lot of you guys' games. You may have had some better individual hitters, some better individual pitchers, but this group to me is the best team I've seen. And I started my site in 2019, so we're going back 7 years.
Right.
You guys have all the ingredients.
Yeah, I think so. It's a confident team. We've talked before. Our lineup is really long.
Yep.
There's guys that up and down the lineup that have gotten it done. Not just the same couple of guys every time. It's somebody different a lot of the times. And on the mound, man, our guys have competed and just thrown strikes and attacked hitters. And so, we're a confident group, but we know, Byron Nelson's really good, and we know we're going to have to be good this weekend, and we're going to have to go earn everything we get. And, I don't think they're going to give away free stuff. So it's going to be a tough weekend, but, that's kind of what we expect. And in 6A Texas, it's a booger bear. So, but we're excited. I feel like we've got a team that can make a run. So, hopefully we can meet again next week and still be playing.
It looks like Byron Nelson has warmed up a little bit. They lost I don't know if they play double. No, they're kind of like 5A district here. They play teams back to back. They lost back to back to Keller, and they've only lost once since then. They're going to have dudes because it's Metroplex 6A teams. You mentioned a couple of guys that have committed to big time programs. It's been 3 years, so they may have changed a little bit. What do they do well that you guys have to be ready to do well against?
Well, they have some good hitters. They can really swing it. They're really aggressive. They like to run. So, if we walk guys, then we're going to be in trouble. But if we go in and attack those guys and make them earn things, then I like our chances. That their top couple, 4 or 5 guys in the lineup. With a couple right there early, we're not going to try not to let them beat us. But it's they're a good team. They're solid. They pitch well. They play good defense. And so, like I said earlier, we're going to have to go earn it.
I like the game plan of having a guy hit a grand slam in the first inning. I'd stick with that.
Yeah, we'd take one of those for sure.
Write that at the top of the list. Yeah, somebody hit a grand slam.
Yes, that'd be all right.
I say that jokingly, obviously, but Brad Bibb and I talked a little bit about you guys are a great example of this. You didn't have guys that pitched a lot this year, but Mongelli pitched a lot, but you got guys now that have pitched a lot and are very comfortable, so that's a good place to start. 5 p.m. tomorrow at Graham Baseball Ballpark. Noon on Friday, Game 3 if necessary. After that, we'll be back on the High School Fan Zone next week. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score.